Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, and welcome to round 2 of the 2026 TCUK Championship here at Virtual Motorsport Online. Tonight, we're at the iconic Brands Hatch Indy circuit, a short, undulating ribbon of tarmac where the track seems to rise, fall, and twist beneath our drivers. From the plunge into Paddock Hill Bend to the climb through Druids or the sweep of Clark Curve, this layout never settles, demanding rhythm, precision, and commitment from our drivers. That constant change in elevation mirrors the early ebb and flow of our championship so far after our first 3 races at Donington Park. Kings Racing arrive here with the momentum, but two-time champion Dan Hurlock has already made a good claim to try and claim a 3rd Drivers' Championship here after stellar drives in the first 3 races. We have 3 more 24-lap races round Brands Hatch here for you tonight. And of course, featuring our usual tyre strategy, boost management, and tonight, a little bit of weather to throw into the mix. So settle in, everyone. Let's see what round 2 has for us. My name is Matthew Churgwin, and joining me, as always, in the commentary booth here is Mr. Philip Morby. Say hello, sir.
Hello, sir. Yeah, we're back here for round 2. Like I said, a little bit of weather occurring. We've had a lot of rain, short of much of the UK has today, and pockets of showers. I'm kind of trying to track, as ever, the weatherman myself. I'm trying to track another weather cell that may hit the circuit. We may just about avoid it, which is making conditions very tricky at the moment with a kind of a racing line about one of the bit cars wide, which will make overtaking very difficult if that doesn't change anytime soon.
Absolutely. So we'll have to see how our drivers play this one out. Will they gamble on a slick tyre? Will they run with the wets? We will find out. Our championship, it's only just kicking off for this year. We've had our first round at Donington Park and the national circuit. Today we're at Brands Hatch Indy, but you can see we're visiting all of the classic touring car circuits here in the UK. In 2 weeks' time, we'll be making our visit to Snetterton, with Alton Park very quickly following on behind. We'll then, of course, make our visit to Hampshire and Thruxton at the 29th of July, which will then feature our break before we head north of the border to Knockhill. We return to Donington Park and the GP circuit at the start of September. We visit Croft and its technical layout on the 16th of September, wrapping up our championship with Silverstone National and Brands Hatch GP in October. And while October feels a long way away, this championship always does fly by. I'm sure it will feel like yesterday, and we'll be there and commentating the race at the GP circuit as we'll have those drivers fighting for the drivers' title, of course, the teams' championship, the independents. And Phil, we had a lot of interesting results at Donington Park. I think the real standout revelation were the Kings team and their Hondas really having a stellar outing.
Those Hondas were something. They really were. You had Cedo as well, and the Brabham guys as well, not doing too bad either. They've done all right this evening. Obviously, I think they've been helped as the track kind of came to them with that dry line forming. To begin with, the rear-wheel drives were mixing it up as the session that started wet and just got drier and drier. The lap times just went from 50 somethings down to 47s. Which was miraculous to see. Obviously, Brands Hatch Indy being such a short lap, and we've got 25 drivers this evening, it means that it does dry relatively quickly. So I reckon if we have another warm-up session, which the guys are on at the moment, we may be able to get a slightly drier race if the rain doesn't hit.
We will have to see. Let's just go over our runners and riders.
Yep, so the first thing to point out is that the Drake team have moved from Infiniti to BMWs. But Nops is in again for Callum Cripps. Is having some technical issues with his computer again. Michael McGuinness has joined Craven in the 3rd car. Tomasz Vac is replacing Aaron Markham, and Alex Hallows has left. So I think we're due about 26 or 27 drivers tonight. Currently 25 in the server, a nice healthy amount, but like I said, a very short sub 50-second lap time. So and we also got some updated winner numbers on there as well, very important for the Hurlock and for those Hondas.
Indeed. We will have to see if the Kings cars and those Hondas continue their dominance. And it was quite something to see those front-wheel drive cars work so well at Donington Park. And so far in these mixed conditions, those front-wheel drive cars definitely heating those, obviously, front tyres up, and that's certainly giving them some advantage. Let's run through our qualifying grid for the first race. Jack London will start on pole position for Calamity Motorsport, followed by Ryan Elliott. We will then move on to the third row. Tom Stevens with Thomas Vack for Kart Marketplace with RSR. Scott Mitchell-Marm and the Kings start 7th with Louis Neal in 8th. Daniel Harlock will start in 9th with Emil Salberg, rounding out our top 10.
You've got Fraser Hart in 11th and Martha Allington, the Soul Toyota there in 12th. Ben Willis in now the Soul Infinity in 13th for Control Esports by Drake Racing. Callum Wilson starting 14th for Sector 1 Esports. Matthew Williams in 15th, and then Bert Knops for Brabham Motorsport in 16th. Alan Smith, Craven Racing 17th, and Zachary Evans, I'm going to try and say it, PMR powered by Richardson Co-Racing in 18th. Jordan Hyde 19th, 5-place grid drop after round 1, and that was a Jordan Richardson there in 20th. And then we've got like a Drake page here. Robin Moling in 21st, Mitch Faree kind of hiding with them in 22nd, Daniel Scott in 23rd, and Anthony Walker in 24th. And then back of the grid, Dave Brewster, Inspire Racing in 25th.
Yes, I may be incorrect in this, but I will assert it looks like most, if not all, of the BMWs, unfortunately, are at the back of the grid. So perhaps that BMW 3 Series not quite working in the wet conditions tonight.
Yeah, it looks like they were struggling a little bit, all of them. And as I said, as it got drier, those Hondas slowly worked their way up the pecking order. We had, I think it was Ryan Elliott. Jack London at one point was very close as well. So, yeah, it's all kind of going pretty well. Just to point out also, sadly, that I think it was Scott Mitchell-Marm will be starting near the back of the grid. Luke Mitchell, sorry, for Kings, because they qualified on the wrong tyres. They've used, so just for tonight, the medium is the tyre, with the main tyre, with the soft being the option. So each of our drivers will pick one of the 3 races to run the soft. For qualifying, you have to run the medium, or the wets, obviously. And it sounds like, I think Luke is probably using the softs for race 1, and therefore accidentally used the softs for qualifying. So that's why they'll be sent to the back of the grid.
Yeah, unfortunate, but tyre strategy will definitely be something we'll try and keep on top of with the wet weather. If we do get hit by another significant cell of rain, of course, drivers will more than likely start on the wet tyres. That does give them a bit of flexibility for the rest of the evening.
Tell you what, just to quickly chime in here. So I'm watching pictures at the moment. We've got a very dry line forming, but that right-hand side of the grid, it's a problem. It's very wet. So while the racing line looks fine, I think those starting on the right hand side are going to kind of drift downwards rather than going forwards.
And that is a good point. You might be able to just catch it there on the footage we've got on stream at the moment. But there is a real genuine camber and dip on that start finish line, and I imagine you will see cars literally just nose down and slide towards the inside the pit lane wall there.
They're really going to struggle on that right hand side. Hopefully, I think if anyone's thinking about if they're starting at that right hand side, they'll be doing a good job of doing warm laps on the right there. I think second place is actually kind of fans out. I think second place is the person that's going to struggle the most, and then as you get further and further back, it kind of, that dry line kind of increases a little bit as there's a few lines. But at least with 27 cars, it will dry quickly, and I think the chance of rain is passing. So I think it's only going to get drier and drier. But again, diving down to turn 2 into the hairpin, they're going to struggle. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of chaos into turn 1 and turn 2 tonight.
So we will have to wait and see. We've obviously seen chaos at this circuit in previous years. Hopefully we'll have some good clean starts and races for everyone, but it is tricky, Brands Hatch Indy. A lot of work to do in a very short amount of time. Of course, we do have our usual race distance, but 24 laps, Phil. It's not quite an endurance race, but you have to be absolutely focused the whole way round. You
hardly get much of a break. I mean, kind of like as soon as you've done turn 1, you're straight into working out your braking point for turn 2. Turn 3, left-hander, you get a little bit of respite, and then you've got to nail those kind of final corners. And yes, you get a rest, I suppose, on the start-finish line, but it's also going to be fun to watch. Where you use your boost, you're pretty much limited to the very small back straight, and then the main straight. I can't see. I suppose you can do little dabs of it, especially as there's only now a 2-second gap between being able to use it. It used to be 5. So you were very limited to using on just the main 2 straights. But I can't see where else you're going to get to use it.
We will have to see how our drivers use it. And we've seen in previous years, of course, drivers use the boost to help manage effectively the loss of performance through tyre wear. I'm sure our drivers will get creative and inventive. And I don't know, maybe in the wet weather, it might actually not be as much of an advantage. Spinning up those, say, front or rear tyres may just give a little bit more for the drivers to have to deal with.
It's also worth pointing out that obviously race one at Donny last time out, everyone started on the same amount of boost. This time, you're going to have your leader is going to have much less boost for this race one. That'll be see how that plays out during the course of the evening.
Fantastic point to make. Lovely to have you all with us. See, we've already got some fans for Louis Neal and Tom Stevens. Thank you so much, folks, for joining us. It's going to be a fun 3 races ahead of us. Phil, anyone you'd suggest our viewers keep an eye out for?
I mean, you can't miss those bright yellow Hondas, can you? I think, obviously, Luke Mitchell's made that mistake in qualifying, but has proven, I mean, I think they qualified like 4th, 5th, so they've definitely got the speed for it. So I think watching them near the back of the grid is going to be a fun one to watch, especially as we always talk about the momentum you need in that evening. You need a solid race one result to move you up the grid to hopefully then try and get a decent race 2 and reverse pole race 3. That's probably what they're trying to aim for. But that's a lot of cars to get through. I mean, yes, lots of laps, but like I said, very short ones. In terms of opportunity, you're kind of looking at boosts into turn 1, hairpin of turn 2, and then that last section you're going to struggle to. I've tried diving down the inside, and I've seen it work, and I've seen it very much not work over the years.
We'll have to see who can make it work or not. We are just about to transition into our first race of the evening. We'll of course run through the whole grid one more time, just so you know where all of your favourites are starting, and we will keep you updated and talk you through obviously the race as it happens. If you're interested in finding out a little bit more about TCUK or VMO, Virtual Motorsport Online, we have a website. Please do feel free to head on over to vmo-simracing.co.uk to find out more about the league, and I'm sure we'll mention a few of the other championships that VMO runs as the evening moves on.
I think we will. It's also worth pointing out that unlike the British Touring Car Championship, where they do 2 warm-up laps around Brands Hatch Indy, we don't have that luxury. So we have a very short warm-up lap to then basically try and shout about what's going on as drivers are just getting themselves to the grid. They've got about 25 seconds to do so, and then we'll hopefully give you pictures and, like I said, the world's quickest rundown of grid positions.
Indeed, it's a short lap, 40, high 40s, low 50s in terms of normal racing lap time. So yes, we'll have to get our ducks in a row and get them quacking. I think everyone just taking every last possible opportunity to pick that right tyre. Are they going to start on the wets? Are they going to start on the dries? We will see. We'll call that one out for you.
Just got drivers moving off the grid. I'm going to start doing the quick rundown of who's where, because we're obviously not going to get much time. So we've got Jack London starting on pole for Calamity Motorsport with Ryan Elliott second, Cedo Wire in third for Brabham Motorsport, Tom Stevens in fourth for Kings Racing, Tomasz Vac for Kart Marketplace with RSR, great debut qualifying for him, being fifth, Scott Mitchell-Marm in sixth, Louis Neal in seventh, Daniel Herlock in 8th, with Emil Salberg in 9th, and Fraser Hart rounding out top 10. The sole Toyota, Niall Farrington 11th, Callum Wilson in 12th, Ben Willis, Control Esports by Drake Racing 13th, 14th, Matthew Williams, Craven Racing, Bert Knops 15th. We have Alan Smith. Oh, Alan Smith, rather 16th, is starting 16th for Craven Racing. We've then got both, and I'm going to say it once, PMR powered by Richards and Co Racing of Zachary Evans in 17th and Jordan Richardson in 18th. Robin Moling in 19th, Mitch Marie 20th. I'm just seeing that Jack's already kind of making to the grid, so I'll be quick. Daniel Scott 21st, Anthony Walker 22nd, Jordan Hyde 23rd, and it's Dave Brewster 24th, Luke Mitchell, one to watch, in 25th, Joseph Herlock for RSR 26th, and Carl Benton 27th. I've done it.
There we go. 27 cars on our grid. We've got Tom Stevens in the picture-in-picture. We wait for everyone to get into their grid boxes, and we wait for those engine notes to rise and the lights to come on. Engine's starting to pick up. Here come the lights. And we are racing. Great start there from Jack London, and look at that King's car trying to get straight up the inside there. Tom Stevens flying off the line, didn't quite make that one work. down they run into Paddock Hill Bend for the very first time. Everyone tiptoeing their way along that dry line as they run into Druids for the first time, locking up of brakes, cold tyres, cold brakes, and all of a sudden it gets a bit murky.
And it's raining already. It's started to rain. Brilliant time for the weather clouds to arrive. Yeah, the rain's increasing. Looks like everyone did make it through. I'm currently watching Luke Mitchell already up to 23rd, made a couple of places. Looks like he's going to make a few more. So but these guys at the front here, they've quickly legged it, and a bit of a gap for the top three. But this is the fun one then. Starting to rain. If you're near the back, do you kind of think about it? So you see a car going off. Please come back on side. Oh no, that was a bit of a hit.
That was a bit of a hit indeed. Certainly one car still off on the inside there of Clark Curve. Mitchell surviving that one, but yes, that was a little bit unfortunate. Perhaps we'll get a replay, see if we can find out a bit more what happened there. But lots of action, particularly out of Graham Hill Bend. I saw in the background there. So lots of action on the first opening lap and a few cars not quite making the end of it.
Yeah, Martha, I think, is switching to the wets. I'm just trying to work it out. So Martha's dived into the pits. Rain is getting heavier. It is getting much heavier, actually. I think you're going to have to start. The problem is changing tyres takes a good 30, 40 seconds, so pit lane time. So actually Martha's going to be lapped here, which is kind of a bit of an issue. But if the main drivers if everyone needs to pit, they could claim it back later. So Martha's going to be very careful here on pit exit, but hopefully has everything under control.
We will see. It is an interesting strategic call to make at this stage, and this is some of the contact I was just calling out. Looks like Martha and BMW here having a scrap. Looks like Matthew Williams in the Craven car was eager to get on with it, and unfortunately off onto the grass. There is no grip out there, particularly in the wet, and unfortunately just comes back onto the circuit there as the corner comes towards the stricken Craven car.
Some car for the ready at the back as well. As that's someone round, as Ryan Elliott is currently leading the way. I think it was Bert Knox that's got off. So cars are starting to struggle. The rain is getting even heavier now. I'm trying to keep an eye on what Martha's doing in terms of lap times. They may be a lap down, but if they can get the wet tyres to switch on, they could be in the pound seats. So I'll keep an eye on how Martha's doing.
Don't you just love a British summer's days? Oh my goodness me, Mitchell Marm right off, all running deep into Brands Hatch. They're nearly all in the fence, but Mitchell Marm, he recovers it back onto the road. But yes, a big scary moment. That rain really does seem to be coming down with even more gusto. You can start to see the spray and dirt being kicked up, and it's a difficult call to make. You've got a few drivers here, 4 laps into the race. They'll have some temperature in their tyres. Can they stay on that dry line, which will be forever shrinking as the rain continues to fall?
Yeah, we've got a couple of the Drakes and Jordan Hyder in the pits for wets as well. Martha's now being held up effectively by the group of cars that they're in, so she'll be kind of hoping to make a gap. So there's Martha, currently technically running around in last, obviously just overtaking those that have pitted, and has just done a lap time, yeah, roughly similar to those kind of in the midfield. I think it's just finding the gap now. Going to be blue flagged for quite a lot, but I think if they can just get the wet weather tyres turned on, it's in the case of do the guys. I mean, if you're at the front, you just don't dare pit. It's going to be who blinks first. Rain intensity is decreasing, however.
So you can just see the extra confidence that Martha has in her Toyota Corolla here, almost kind of surprised by how much turn in, and just look at the speed and traction as she gets out of Graham Hill Bend running towards Surtees for this, the 5th time of asking. That Astra, which is powered by, just look at the extra grip that Toyota's got, and a little bit of a touring car hip and shoulder there to try and get that move done. Not sure quite the cleanest way of making progress, but Martha making those wet tyres work.
Definitely making those wet tyres work, and just think got Mitchell is also pitted for wets as well. Yeah, Mitchell going quicker as well than cars round, but kind of similar times. The guys at the front are still going faster as the rain intensity continues to drop, as Ryan Elliott is just kind of holding a bit of a gap. Obviously, also worth pointing out, Ryan's on the softs, which will be fun to watch later on, but both of them and Cedo have still 13 lap to boost.
So I've got a little picture-in-picture here, Martha Allington. You can just see the extra ability that her racing car has versus those that she's racing. Just more traction, more ability, more confidence, and really hustling the back now of one of the Infinities. But just moving back towards the front of the field, Ryan Elliott with those soft tyres. Always in these kind of conditions, you want a soft compound, a bit easier to heat up, a bit more compliant, finding that grip from the surface. Ryan, I think, will be pretty happy with where he is. Relatively clear road ahead of him. He's able to place his car where he wants, and now he's got a bit of temperature. He can build some rhythm. It's all about just not making mistakes and hitting your marks.
It is indeed. I think Fraser Hart's also pitted, so a few of them are kind of trying it. I think the problem is that it takes so long to switch, and it's such a short lap, you're going to get lapped, and especially now as the rain has stopped, it's now going to hopefully start getting easier for those that kind of rode it out. It's going to be fun to see if they can kind of hopefully make it work. As I see Elliott's still got that nice kind of... Elliott and Acedo have kind of legged away with a nice 2-second gap. Tom Stevenson third. Probably kind of just thinking about, don't push each other, just kind of build the gap up to Stevens and then fight later. But it's all kind of in the hands of the weather gods as to whether this rain returns or if that's it for the evening.
We will have to see what happens. I think, Phil, you made an excellent point just before we came on air, that with the racing line, that dry strip that you may just be able to make out a bit duller in complexion, everyone on these slick tyres will be desperately hoping to stay within it. That will make overtaking really tricky, as naturally you go off that dry line, you're putting yourself on the wetter, damper part of the racetrack. You naturally have less grip as Cedo slides, but somehow still makes that one kind of work through McLaren into Clark. Just a little example of getting off that dry line onto the wet, slippy stuff, all that momentum and huge moment that you could potentially have.
Can indeed, as it has started raining again, which is good news for those that did kind of go for those wet tyres. And watching Dan Herlock and Scott Mitchell-Marm fight over 5th place, bit of contact, bit of rubbing, a little bit too much. And see how twitchy that BMW was, even on exit, as they're going to have a bit of a rundown here. Sorry, yeah, I got that wrong. It's Daniel Herlock and Stevens, as Herlock is up to 3rd. Made 5 spots so far, as London, sadly, from pole has gone backwards a little bit.
So good to see that in the hands of Dan Herlock, that BMW is working, so they're not all quite at the back, but it is a tricky balance. The front wheel drives, of course, putting all of their power, their steering through the front tyres. They warm up nice and quickly in these conditions. Early going, that can be a real advantage, but the rear wheel drives, now that the race is starting to get into the middle stages, the tyres will be up to temperature at this point, and we'll have to see how they do. I'd say rear-wheel drives having a bit more rotation, a bit more of a better cornering balance. I think those BMWs will start to come strong.
Yeah, you got Alan Smith going for a long way around Ben Willis, but obviously very wet on the outside. Please don't. That's very twitchy there, and it's going to be hard on the brakes. But you're off the racing line. Have they managed to brake in time? Managed to duck back in behind in 13th, but got a good run out here. Use a bit of boost, a little bit of contact as Ben made, I think, one move to defend, but it was a little bit late-ish. But I think in these kind of conditions, it's very hard. As you've got yellow flags down in sector 2, I imagine it's someone that's gone off here. Are we just about still going okay? It's gone for now, but yeah, you can see the difference in those that are coping and those that aren't.
Indeed, you can just see Ben a little bit offline there, just sailed past the usual apex and exit point, and Alan able to make good progress, getting his car nice and straight, full power, just let those front tyres focus on accelerating, and he was able to make forward progress. Willis diving for the pits. Interesting. Is he going to switch to wet tyres at this stage?
I'm wondering if it's worth doing it, because it is starting to rain quite a lot more now, so it's hard now, because we're not even halfway through the race. There are still 12 laps to go. It actually costs you a lap to make that switch. Looking at Martha's time, Martha's doing 51s. What are the guys at the front doing? They're also doing 51s. So Martha down in 20th is doing the same lap times as some of our fastest drivers. So obviously, there is obviously a bit of skill involved as well, but I think the wet tyre is the tyre to be on at the moment as that BMW continues to slide around the last corner.
Say cornering with style, the RSR BMW there trying to chase down Fraser Hart, making a few places as obviously they're passing drivers in the pit lane, getting their tyres changed. I like the call that Martha put in. I think it's the right time to have done it. Just gamble it, do something a bit different, and it looks like it may pay off as more and more drivers continue to dive for the pit lane.
Yeah, so as Ben Willis comes out of the pits, Martha's jumped up to 18th. with a couple more people.
Oop, I think we've just lost Phil there, so we'll carry on. Fraser Hart continues his way on this lap 12 of 24, halfway through the race. Just looking at our leaders, we've got still Cedo Wire and Ryan Elliott holding station about half a second a lap. It is going to be good to see how they get on. A little bit of boost used between them, but then just look at third place, Dan Hurlock, only 5 laps of boost to use across this 24-lap race. He's used 1 of those laps already. So you can see yet more and more spray coming off the back of these cars as the race progresses. It's definitely getting a bit murkier out there, so our drivers, as Phil was just saying, definitely going to have to exhibit a little bit of patience, of skill, and that dry line is rapidly closing up.
Hopefully the wet weather isn't going to affect my internet connection anymore. Cedo's got a nice 5-second gap to the car behind, so the top 2 have kind of run away a little bit more now, as we see Callum Wilson in 8th place. I'm just trying to work out who's the highest running wet driver, wet tyre driver. Oh dear. I think it's currently... Did Luke Mitchell pit? Just trying to work out. Yes, they did. So Luke Mitchell in 17th. You've also got Fraser Hart in 16th. And Dave Brewster, who started at the back of 25th, is up to 15th, having stayed out on those dry tyres.
Yes, it's definitely the top 15. Of course, points go all the way down to 15th place. Top 15 all seemingly on the slick tyre. Everyone else, the remaining 12 or so cars, all on the wet tyre. So you've definitely got a split in opinion across of our drivers. It definitely looks like those who moved to the wet tyre earlier, of course, are going to feel more of that benefit as the track conditions continue to worsen.
Yeah, but obviously, again, it has also stopped raining, so I suppose we may have a little respite. It'd be interesting if in 5 minutes we get another band or anything, but currently it has stopped raining, so again, we may get a bit of a respite for those on those dry tyres, as Cedo's using a little bit of boost in an attempt to catch up with Ryan Elliott, as the gap currently, yeah, it's hovering around half a second at the moment, so it's just making sure you hit your braking points here, because again, with it being so wet offline, as soon as you go off, you just go off flying.
As you can see, Cedo just running a little bit wide there, and of course cars not typically running over the curbs, they tend to hold on to that water, just make it a lot more difficult to then get back on the track. You kind of get pulled away from that dry line, and what becomes, or was, a small mistake becomes a much larger one. But these two doing a fabulous job keeping on that ever thinning dry piece of track, and they are reaping so far the rewards of consistency and, as you say, hitting their marks.
So Fraser Hart, who swapped to the wet tyres, has jumped ahead of Dave Brewster in 15th and is closing down Zachary Evans at a high rate of knots. But Zachary's already going through the exit of turn 2, whereas Fraser's just crossing the start-finish line. So a bit of a gap between 15th and 14th.
Sorry to speak over you a bit there, Phil, but Ryan just made a little mistake, went well onto the wet part of the road, and Cedo Wire is now right up with him. One little mistake, one missing of the marks, and our race for the lead is well and truly on. Cedo not able to quite make an opportunity work there this time around, but one little lapse in concentration, and it could have been a big moment.
It's probably also worth pointing out that it's Fraser Hart. It looks like he's in 3rd place. He's actually in 15th, so he's been lapped by the 2 in front, but is on the wet weather tyres, and suddenly the rain has ramped up massively. So this is going to be really good for those again on the wet tyres. So it just keeps yo-yoing. It's a heavy shower we've got now, though.
It's good to spectate. I will say I'm glad I'm not racing in this. It is really challenging, folks. So our drivers are really putting on a superb show for us, and interesting to see, as you say, Hart there on the wet tyre, just gaining, and my goodness, it's happened again. Elliott's gone deep, and Cedo Wire takes the lead. Here comes Hart on those wet tyres, and just look at how much more confidence and time that he's been able to gain right up the inside, trading paint. He wants by on those wet tyres. He wants to try and get himself back on the lead lap.
And I mean, it's the heaviest it's been raining all race, so suddenly those wets are switched on and they're ready to go. They are in the pound seats, which is why you could argue, though, is Fraser getting involved in a race, kind of a race-winning fight here? I suppose they are, but it's their teammate that's leading, and as long as they keep it clean, they are more than able to unlap themselves, as they have done so. But will Wire now get out of the way for their teammate with 2nd place very close behind?
We'll have to see. I definitely wouldn't be leaving the dry line, that's for darn sure. But yes, those wet tyres really starting to come into their own. Oh, was there a little bit of friendly nudging between the two Brabham Honda Civics? Hard to tell, but they're certainly getting close and racy. And I think if I were Cedo, I'd be like, yes, after you, sir. Please go on ahead. Just let me focus on my race. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think they need to think about this one through a little bit, because it's very clear that Fraser's the much quicker driver on the right tyre at the right moment, and Fraser's kind of putting in some decent laps. There's been a yellow in sector 1 there, it's quickly gone. Is this Cedo backing off? Yes, it is. Done the right thing there. Let Fraser through, let them run off some distance, even use a little bit of their slipstream, which they'll benefit with still 6 laps to go. We've still got a quarter of the race to go, Chuggy.
I know it's it's developing nicely. 24 laps, lots of value, same distance, but just this nature of this 1.2 mile circuit, it does deliver in racing thrills and spills. Very wet offline, and oh my goodness, having just gone by on the wet tyre, it looks like Hart there has made a mistake himself, and that has given Elliott the opportunity to put his car up the inside into Druids, as Wire was watching his teammate recover back onto the road. Elliott retakes the lead, little bit of overlap down into Graham Hill Bend, and we're back to how we were just a few laps ago.
We are, and I'm just watching Dan Herlock in the BMW is catching up well, at a hell of a pace as getting very slidey. He likes sliding that BMW Herlock in third, and is catching up this fight. And obviously, I think Scott in third earlier. So there's 3 cars fighting for 2 positions here. It's very confusing.
It is, but just look at how much more grip that Hart has on that wet tyre. He just casually drove round our 2 race leaders like they weren't even moving. Incredible stuff. Now, we'll have to see, will they make their braking markers this time around? It is so wet, hearing everyone struggling as the British summer continues to fall. Down through Paddock Hill Bend they go this time around. Looks like they all make it through. So really challenging conditions for everyone as we now see what's going on here between Jack London and Tom Stevens for 5th and 6th.
Yeah, I'm also just kind of keeping an eye on Fraser Hart. Obviously, they were like half a lap behind 14th. It's now 7 seconds. They're flying through. As yeah, it's a lot going on at the moment, and it's just trying to work out who's on which tyres and who's made the right choices, because the rain is the monsoon at this point is continuing to fall.
So Jack London able to make a move there, get past Tom Stevens with a little bit of mistake. We've got Cedo Wire here. He's now being passed by Ben Willis, another driver who switched over onto that wet compound. I think those with the wet tyres are definitely going to enjoy the last few laps here. Everyone else holding on for dear life.
It is indeed. It's whether those people on those wet tyres have enough time, I suppose, now to make up extra positions. Martha's down in 19th, but yeah, Ben's now in 16th place and is 2 seconds behind Fraser Hart, who is 4 seconds behind 14th. As there's a pack now going 3 wide. Please don't.
Oh no! So one of the Drake BMWs coming a cropper and is now unfortunately off and stopped at the start-finish line. Hopefully everyone will be able to spot them and avoid contact. Of course, spray makes the visibility even more difficult. But the track, oh no, more contact. That's the Jack London there making contact with, I think that's Salberg for Creek Racing. So as we're getting towards the end of the race, it's getting a bit scrappy as the weather has well and truly played its hand.
It has indeed. Yeah, Salberg's going down the order. This is obviously all good news for those wet weather drivers still. But I'm just kind of keeping an eye on the gap at the front between Cedo and Elliott. Is still holding at half a second. But now they've, if you watch at the front, they've now got traffic. They're lapping, they're being lapped. Oh no, Ryan's hit someone. Ryan has hit Cedo. Cedo's just about holds on for it. Oh, this is getting all very scrappy on the last few laps. You'd think it's race 3, but it is still race 1. We still have 2 more of these afterwards. And it's just, there's cars that are out of position on the right tyres and cars in the lead on the wrong tyres.
So we haven't had a wet race here at TCUK for a little while, but we've got one here and it is delivering drama right up to the very end. Ryan Elliott down to 2nd place again. This is all about driver skill and bravery at this point. You can see those on the wet tyre just having so much more confidence, able to make moves, place their cars. And hats off to all of the drivers still on the slick tyres. There is no grip out here on this circuit. Here comes Martha, pitted right at the start, about to repass and get back on the lead lap, passing our 2 drivers for the point. Yeah, fair play to those still on the slick tyres. I definitely would not be able to keep the car on the island at this point.
I definitely wouldn't either. It's now just having to be careful of these cars. Look at that dive down the inside. Tocido's got no answer for it, as that is now Martha back on the lead lap. So I'm just trying to see what other fights are happening up and down the grid. There's a big group around 8th to 10th and they're all together, but I think it's worth, as we get a replay, this is that that group. So I think Daniel Scott and the Drake is just going a little bit sideways, gets a bit more grip here to kind of tuck in underneath, and then just goes all very slidey. Little slide, just about catches, but there's still a car there, and then just sadly catches. I can't work out who that is. The Vauxhall, I think, of Herlock, and that is them both out.
Yeah, so the wet, so obviously surface reduces grip to the tyres. White lines is going to be a factor as well. Dan Herlock in his RSR has now caught up for the lead. Cedo has definitely cleared off, 1.3 seconds to the good. But Ryan Elliott, who's been leading a good majority of this race, now having to fight and scrap for second place. Now Herlock and his BMW has arrived at the party. And just look at that, the front wheel drive. Is it out of tyres? Is it struggling for grip? As a little wiggle on the curb. Herlock takes second, but he needs to hold on to it as we are on our final lap.
That could just be Herlock's soft tyres, even in this wet weather, just finally giving up. So Cedo's got a bit of a gap as we get a replay of Thomas Vatch. What's happened here? Oh, that was Thomas Vatch. Then just sadly, that's a shame in their first race. As I'm just watching Cedo, I think it's done enough. There's a nice big gap to that BMW behind, and wow, I can't believe how we have 3 different races for the price of one there.
Indeed. We've still got a few more races to go, but those have weathered the storm are going to take the plaudits and the podium for this, our first race of round 2 this evening. Cedo Wire magnificently in his Honda Civic crosses the start-finish line to win a race 1 this evening from Dan Herlock and Ryan Elliott. What a treat they've put on for us. As we wait for the rest of our runners and riders to come home, here comes Ben Willis, a wet tyre stop in the race. He's got himself up to 10th, having gone a lap down. So those wet tyres really paying off in the final stages. Scott Mitchell-Marm comes home in 4th place. He also had the fastest lap of the race, but this is, I think, not going to be over until everyone crosses the line.
But so yes, you're right, Ben. There, sadly, Alan Smith had a little issue on the last corner. That's been up to 9th. What a result!
Strategy, it can pay off, and I applaud those two who've taken the gamble. Martha, one of those who took the gamble early on, unfortunately not quite worked out this time for her, but finishes a very strong P18. As we had quite a few folks unfortunately not finish the race. We didn't quite get to that, but we'll run through the finishing order for you. So much to cover in that one.
Yeah, just absolutely crazy. I mean, the rain is still bucketing it down as we finish race 1, and so hopefully that will continue for race 2, and it means that it's just going to mix it all up. If it suddenly stops raining now, do you start on those wets or those dries? I imagine we're going to see a lot of wet tyres race 2.
I imagine so. If the weather conditions continue as they just were, I think everyone has warmed up. They've noticed and taken breed of being on the right tyre at the right time, and fair. I honestly, folks, cannot say if you've never driven an R Factor 2, which is the platform that we're racing on tonight in the wet, it is so difficult to drive in wet conditions on a dry tyre. Well done to Cedo Wire, who won race 1 this evening, followed very closely by Daniel Herlock for RSR, with Ryan Elliott rounding out our podium positions. Scott Mitchell-Marm for Kings came home in 4th. Tom Stevens, his teammate, came home in P5, so another good start for Kings yet again. Jack London finished in 6th for Calamity. Callum Wilson for Sector 1 came home in P7, with Jordan Richardson, Ben Willis and Alan Smith, not 16th this time, rounding out our top 10.
Yeah, like I said, great places there made from Smith and from Willis there. Fraser Hart in 11th for Brabham Motorsport, with Louis Neal in 12th. Thomas Vatch, even though he got absolutely destroyed on the start-finish line, has brought it home for points in 13th. Well done to them. Luke Mitchell started 25th, finished 14th. Nice work. Emil Salberg getting the final point in 15th. Bert Knops 16th, with Zachary Evans in 17th. Martha Allington's a bit unlucky there with that good idea to go early for the wets in 18th, with Joseph Herlock in 19th, and then it's Anthony Walker for Drake Racing in 20th. Note that though 19th and 20th did 1 lap less. We've then got Jordan Hyde in 21st, Dave Brewster and Matthew Williams. I'm guessing cars that also went for the wets or just didn't quite pay off. Then 4 DNFs there. Daniel Scott, as we saw that miraculous crash at the end there. Robin Moling, Mitch Murray, and then Carl Benton. Didn't even see what happened to the 3. Sorry, guys. It was just absolute chaos.
Chaos indeed, but in the midst of that chaos, we've had a first-time winner. Just hearing from our race director for the evening, Stefan. So that's apparently Cedo's first TCUK win. Boy, oh boy, what a first win in style. I don't think you'd forget that one in a hurry.
No, that was just everything happening all at once. With the rain, deciding whether it was going to rain or not rain. It kept everyone on their toes, and yeah, I mean, imagine if you'd started on those wet of the tyres, you would look like an absolute idiot. And by the end of the race, you look like a hero. So yeah, really hard to judge, as we're currently hearing it's a bit sunny at the moment. So it'll be still very wet on circuit. If as long as they don't restart the server, and hopefully we'll get just as exciting races 2 and 3.
We shall see. And I think for those who perhaps haven't driven in these conditions, Phil, would you be able to describe kind of what the difference is between driving on a dry track, a wet track, and just how that dry tyre just doesn't really work?
I mean, you're right, when the front wheel drive, you're just praying for the front tyres to warm up and give you some sort of grip. But I remember doing karting at Thruxton. I asked about it, and it basically, like, you'll hit the brakes and nothing will happen for the first second. If anything, it feels like you're speeding up. And then you'll turn the wheel and nothing will happen for about 2 seconds. And by the end of it, in that heavy monsoon, I imagine that's exactly how it felt. It just continued. Like the first, we had a few teasers of what happened, and then the heavens just opened. Whether we get some more this evening, I'm not sure. But given the amount of rain, it's going to take a while for that to all clear, I imagine.
It shall. While we have 27 cars and it's a fairly short track, it will take a while for the cars as they circulate to lift and move that wet weather, all simulated within the simulation here, for that dry line to return. So I think you're right, Phil. It'll be interesting to see in this second race who starts on the wet tyre, not because it's the fastest tyre, but it'll be the most consistent, the safest choice. I certainly can recall in my time racing, doing some endurance racing, I wouldn't even think of putting a slick tyre on a wet or drying circuit until at least the racing line is half the width of the circuit, because you really do not want to end up on the slippy stuff.
No, not at all. Especially if here, like, you've got a couple of straights, but it's a lot. Especially that last sector, those last corners, just praying for those tyres to grip in the left, then the right, and then the even tighter right-hander. I actually did a bit of Project Cars. Project Cars 2 is one of the few games where you can set. It has a few of these tracks, and you can literally drive in snow, in blizzard conditions. So I thought I'd give that a go yesterday. What I can tell you is it took me just as long to set up Project Cars 2 to actually be able to run it than actually did driving in it. And I did Blizzard, I did Brands Hatch Indy, I started from the back of the 20-car grid, and I did it in the Mercedes AMG A45 touring car. So who used to run that? Was the Wix car, wasn't it, back in the day?
It was the Wix car. That's the Sicily Motorsport with Morgan, I think.
Yes. So I took that for a run. And you kind of, if you looked at the brakes in a funny way, they would look up. But I did manage to do some laps, and it was just understeer hell, but it worked. I then tried the BMW. Now, I used to drive rear-wheel drive. I've driven front and rear-wheel drive in VMO. I've always preferred front, but I like to think I can drive a car in the rear. I remember taking the famous Levorg, and I've done BMW. So they have BMW 3 Series touring car. And I took that, and I think I tried about 4 times getting around the hairpin, and every time I ended up facing the hairpin on exit, because I could not get the car to go round the hairpin, so I gave up. So I couldn't even do a lap on the rear-wheel drive car in the Blizzard and Brands.
So thankfully, Blizzard I don't think is quite something that we have on the agenda this evening, but there we go, exploring the TCUK grid or set of circuits in interesting conditions. What's on the agenda for next time, Phil? Some snowstorms at Snetterton, perhaps?
Well, the other thing I was trying to find is, I think it was for Brands Hatch, snowstorms at Snetterton. That's a bit of a tongue twister in itself. I think it does have Snetterton and Project Cars too, so I have to give that a go. I was trying to think, obviously Brands Hatch famously used to be a dirt bike circuit, and I'm trying to remember which games had it. I think it was Toka Race Driver 2 or 3 on PlayStation 2. You could do part of the dirt circuit. Am I right in saying that, Chuggy? Do you remember?
I can't remember that, but there certainly has been rallycross heritage at this circuit. And I was actually going to comment at some points in that first race. It was so wet and muddy in places, I thought we were doing a rallycross race. So, yes, I think you'd cut the inside of Paddock Hill Bend, do a kind of left-right chicane.
Yes.
You'd run across the top of the parking on the left of the shot. So, yeah, good little layout.
I'm going to have to try and dig out a copy of Toka Race Driver 2 or 3 to find if that exists. There's my homework for next time. We didn't do parish notices after Donington, so I probably there wasn't much to talk about in terms of penalties, but there were 2. Sadly, both involving Jordan Hyde making a overtake attempt on Joseph Hurlock, and neither of them working. The first one was in race 1, and they received an 8 position penalty. So, which is also clarifying for VMO this year, when they're going to try and do they're going to try and do place penalties. They're going to try and right the wrong effectively, even if the car that was hit doesn't obviously gain those places back. They will put a penalty in such that they will try to recover effectively. So for race 1, Jordan Hyde got an 8th place grid drop, which then dropped them out of the points because they went from 13th to 21st. For race 3, it was a similar thing at the final chicane, which didn't work out because Hurlock retired. Hurlock became underclassified. They had the 5th place grid drop. That was the only grid drop for Brands Hatch.
Yes, a few penalties from the stewards' room from the last round, which is never ideal to see, but it was just a couple, which is I think a good testament. There was a lot of good racing last time out, which was excellent to watch and call. Very difficult, obviously, conditions just now, and we'll have to see what the conditions are like for the second race this evening. Heard that the warm-up has been dry, but the actual reality of the weather will only come to bear when our drivers actually get into the race session. So I think it's going to be... I think if I were out there driving tonight, Phil, I would actually sit and wait and use as much time as possible to grid up, see what the track is doing, see what my rivals are doing, and perhaps do something a little bit different just to try and make some places and make some strategic options for myself.
Yeah, so basically, for those that don't know, rFactor 2, we and also VMO, we use a live weather plugin, which basically means we use daytime temperatures but real-time weather. So that plugin does not work during warm-up, which is what the guys have been doing 5 minutes of just kind of going around. It takes the plugin a few moments to effectively activate and work out what's basically ping the weather station and go, what are you doing, and then apply those effects. So they've only, however, got 60 seconds before they need to go to the grid. So I think they're going to, if the plugin doesn't activate, or maybe it has stopped raining, and maybe we're just going to have a dry race too, which is going to be something a bit different. But we do see that in the real touring cars, where there's a bit of a gap between races in the real world, that we can have a wet race one time and then a dry race next time round. So I think at the moment everyone's going to have to pick dries, and we're going to have to run through that grid very quickly again in a minute.
Yes, we will, and of course it will benefit the cars to perhaps change the setups when in a wet scenario, make them a bit softer, a bit more compliant, and stiffen them up in a dry setting to get the maximum pace and speed out of your machine. Lots for our drivers to manage. It's certainly not just circulating in circles. And as our drivers are now gridding up, we will run through that starting order for race 2 this evening. Here we go. Phil, take it away.
Yep, so as they go down to turn 2 already on the warm-up laps, obviously starts from pole with Daniel Hurlock behind in second, Ryan Elliott third, and then it's the 2 kings of Scott Mitchell-Marr and Tom Stevens in 4th and 5th. Jack London in 6th, with Callum Wilson for Sector 1 Esports in 7th. Jordan Richardson in 8th, with Ben Willis, great. Him and Alan Smith in 9th and 10th, doing great work on those wet tyres. Fraser Hart in 11th, and Louis Neal 12th. Thomas Schvack, as I said, decent race 1, hoping to make up more places in race 2. Luke Mitchell, again, they made 11 places, starts now in 14th. Emil Salberg for Creek Racing by Kings in 15th, with Bert Knops in 16th. Zachary Evans in 17th, Martha Allington 18th. And we've got Joseph Hurlock in 19th and Anthony Walker for Drake Racing in 20th. Jordan Hyde is starting 21st. Dave Brewster is 22nd. And then it's Matthew Williams for Craven Racing 23rd. The 2 Drakes of Daniel Scott and Robin Moling in 24th and 25th. And Mitch Marie in 26th, and sadly Carl Benton isn't returning, so we're down to 26 runners and riders, of which one of them at the back, 23rd Jordan Hyde there, I just noticed, is starting on wets.
So that's, I think, a bold call, at least looking at the climactic conditions at the moment, but we will see what happens as this race pans out. It might be a fantastic call, and we're all proven wrong. We'll see. Anyway, our drivers are now all formed up, all angled, ready to get their launches for the second race of the evening. We wait for the engine's notes to rise and the lights to come on. Lights out and away we go. Look at that start for the BMW there. Herlock immediately to the point. We've also got a very fast starting Ford Focus there. It was either the best start possible or perhaps a little bit too eager. They run down through Paddock Hill Bend, all clumped together, and you can see them 3, 4, perhaps even 5 wide into Druids. Now it's dry. All of that track is usable.
Yeah, I think I'm hearing that Jack London has got a drive-through for a jump start, as I see a few drivers having an issue, as Bert Knops has already retired, so we've already had our first retirement.
It's a big crash by the sounds of it into Druids. Not ideal. I think with a bit of dry road, people perhaps got a little bit too excited. We'll see if we can get a replay of some of that shortly. Yes, that's unfortunate for Jack London just jumping the start. That is going to really put him back. As we saw in the last race, a run through the pits here, that is effectively going to put you a lap down. Lots for him to do.
Yeah, I don't think there won't be a lap down because they're not going to stop for tyres, but they are going to be very far down as we see Cedo and Stevens battling out for number 2 as Mitchell Marm is kind of watching from behind.
So Kings had a solid first race, and it looks like Tom Stevens, he wants another race win. He got a race win in our second race last week. Looks like he wants another one this week. He is through into second, but they are side by side as they run through Surtees into the McLaren link up to the Clark curve. Through they go. Looks like we're also now watching Luke Mitchell for Kings as well. He's running in P9. He's got Fraser Hart ahead of him in 8th place, both on the boost, powering along the Brabham Straight to complete the 3rd lap of Asking.
Mitchell wasn't happy there with flashing the lights. We'll see a replay here of Emil Selberg. So what happened here? Looks like a little bit too kind of cutting over, and then sadly that's not being spun round, and I think then gets hit by one of the Drakes, and that's the reason why they retire. Looks like that car was kind of cutting into the lane a little bit too far, but it's very claustrophobic. Lap 1 going down into the hairpin.
It's narrow, the walls come in, and it is easier than you may think to actually get a little bit unsighted. As you say, Phil, I think 2 into 1 did not go on that time of Asking, and once you get on the grass, you are a passenger. Unfortunate to lose a car that early and have a bit of contact, but we move on. We are completing lap 3 onto lap 4 for our leaders. Herlock continues to lead. Tom Stevens used a little bit of boost, has the fastest lap of the race as they run into Paddock Hill Bend, and we've got some action here over P16 and 17. A good run out of the corner there for Jordan Hyde, down into Paddock Hill Bend. This time of Asking, oh no, Craven car off into the wall.
That went straight on. Looks like some sort of technical error. As Matthew Williams, we think that's now out possibly, or have they managed to recover? It looks like they have managed to recover down in 24th. Meanwhile, we've got Stevens right on the back. Those Hondas really are something. It can be fun to watch Mitchell Marm, obviously, in the softs, kind of just hanging back a little bit, saving their boost for later as Stevens moves out, uses the boost, and should just cruise by.
Yeah, that boost, an extra 65 brake horsepower, can make all of the difference. But on this time of Asking, Herlock braver on the inside, later on the brakes. He hangs on for the time being, but these two continue to duke it out. Of course, Scott Mitchell-Marm in 3rd, not that far behind, ready to pick up any pieces. A little bit of leaning, and running wide out of Druids, doing a little bit of lawn mowing. That won't do any favours filling up the radiators, but they hang on. Stevens right onto the rear wing of Herlock.
So we've got a replay here of Matthew Williams. What happens here? This is going to be turning down and then just hitting the BMW. Oh, very kind of glanced off the BMW.
I'm not sure there was contact. I think he just didn't quite get the car balance right, and a little bit of a pendulum effect for him there.
I think you're right, as we now got a bit of a train forming as Stevens comes to the outside, tries the outside again of turn 1. Is it going to work? Are we going to try and duck underneath for turn 2? Nope. Herlock says, no, you can't have that. And now it's going to be 3 wide going into hairpins. How's this going to work, everybody? As
so make it 4. Yeah. We've now got Jordan Richardson, another race winner from last time out, joining the fray, joining the party. Yeah, it's easy to defend that inside for Paddock Hill Bend. It makes you vulnerable up to Druids. I think if I were Tom Stevens, I'd be trying to make Herlock go defensive and try and get that run up the inside. As all contact, big moment. My goodness, we now have 4 all together. My word. It's a conga line, folks. Everyone's trading paint, as I think we've now literally got the top 7 or 8 almost nose to tail. This leading duo scrapping for all their worth, and everyone is reaping the benefits.
As you've got, Richardson now thinking about the downs. Oh no, that's Richardson off. I think he tried diving down the inside, but also unsettled the car. So they'll lose a bunch of places, but managed to come in safely. As again, Stevens looks around the outside of Herlock, but Herlock manages to hold on. I think the problem here is that Mitchell Marr wants them just to get on with it, and they will just continue to fight, and it's bringing everyone in. As Mitchell Marr's now on the grass trying to overtake their teammate. It's not the best way to overtake your teammate. As now the Simply Race guys are having a bit of a to and froing. It's basically there's Honda battle everywhere. That's probably done.
It's ultimate Honda battle. Everyone, all the Hondas want all of the road and all of the attention, and they're all throwing themselves off. Not ideal, folks. Scott Mitchell-Marm now passes Stevens. Perhaps a little bit of formation flying. Let me have a go. Let me see what I can do. Maybe I can help you get past. We will see. But scraps, antics. The Honda Civics taking all of the screen time at the moment here at race 2 of the evening. Now we switch over to see what's going on here over P10, 9, and 8. Got Martha Allington in the Seoul Toyota, looking like she's trying to make a move on Alan Smith for 8th place in the Craven Hyundai. Good showing from Alan so far, exiting Graham Hill Bend, running up into the 3rd sector now, hard on the brakes, uphill, braking, turning, so difficult to balance your car and then get it all settled so you can get hard on the power onto the start finish straight, which is not particularly straight. All doing a fabulous job. Martha covering the inside. Here comes the RSR Astra. Can he get around the outside? Not quite.
Not quite indeed, as they all use a little bit of gravel there on the outside of turn 1. I'm keeping an eye on the gap between Mitchell Marm and Herlock. It is coming down quite seriously, as they've tried pulling away from Ryan Elliott in 4th, who's just about holding on there. I think if Scott, they've got the same amount of boost, 5 laps left each. If Scott can get a decent run on this exit with those soft tyres, get a decent amount of grip, hopefully can pull it off. Is on the boost, going to use the boost all the way along here, and surely got enough boost to make it work. Having to go the long way round, quite a short run down, but has made it into the lead.
Covers the inside as well. Lovely bit of positioning from Mitchell Marm there. Opened up the line through McLaren into Clark Curve, allowed him to get the car straighter on the boost. And from that point, it's a horsepower race this time, that Honda Civic with the boost, winning out over the BMW, critically getting on the brakes and ahead to cover the inside of Paddock Hill Bend. Textbook stuff from Mitchell Marm.
Is indeed, as Ryan Elliott is slowly catching up those guys and bringing Louis Neal with them. A bit more of a gap back to 6th now, though, as Cedo is having a bit of a battle with Jordan Richardson, 6th and 7th. So there's a few battles starting to brew up here. We're only not even halfway through race 2 yet. And but like I said, points down to 15th, which is currently held by Callum Wilson. Probably worth pointing out that Luke Mitchell in 16th has managed to recover, so hopefully be able to gain a few points back after that big off earlier on.
Yes, big hit into the wall on the exit of Clark Curve. Not a usual place to find yourself. You normally do end up out there with a little bit of help, but recovering, which is good to see. Just having a look here, fight over 14th place. Towards the end of the points, but good racing here. Jordan Hyde in the Vapor Shield Racing Hyundai, trying to chase down the back of Emil Salberg in his Civic, and we've got the Sector 1 Esports car of Callum Wilson for close company here as well. Again, one mistake, and you could be potentially gaining or losing many positions. Through Clark Curve they go. For this, the 12th time of asking. Halfway through the race, again, the race just disappearing. I don't know where the time's going.
Whoa, there's a bit of sideways action here between, that's going to be another hit. It's Jordan Richardson in 6th, and I think that is Cedo in 7th. Cedo's got the inside now, so should be able to get it back. I think they haven't detached yet. They are still attached, thank you very much, as they're going to try not to rejoin again. And there's a lot of fighting going on here. Cedo is now going to look, just get a little bit of slipstream, and it looks like it's a bit of a gap in the fight there for a second as we cut to 14, 15 and 16.
Bumping and banging all the way through the order. I think Cedo perhaps struggling a little bit, lack of boost just as this one is running on, and perhaps a little bit of tyre advantage as well playing out. Quite a few drivers in our top 10 on the soft tyre. Of course, a number opting for the soft tyre in this, the second race. A few perhaps being carried over from the first race. I've got Thomas Wack here in 10th, recovering nicely, getting up the inside there, gaining a place into P9 from the Craven machine of, I think that was That's Alan Smith there, and momentum, I mentioned it a lot at Donington Park, and unfortunately Alan there offline, and he loses yet another place as he's lost momentum, lost his race, his racing line, his position.
Yeah, this is one of those tracks where you kind of lose one kind of position, you're more likely to lose 2 or 3, as we now see Luke Mitchell on the back of those points battle in 16th place. Probably should just comment on a few issues with our timing tower, so apologies for that. So Luke Mitchell, I said after that heavy hit, hoping to recover. We got it's just Honda battles everywhere, isn't it? Really, with the odd BMW in for good measure. Got a replay here of Mitch Marie in that BMW. What happened here? Slightly on the grass, but looks like it's okay. And then is that a little tap or no? Oh no! Oh dear. Yeah, that was a little bit unfortunate, but I think karma got delivered there as well at the same time.
Yes, a little bit. You can't quite drive through cars. You do need to pass them cleanly. And oh dear, it keeps going.
Yes, that was.
Yes.
That's
untidy.
Yes,
untidy. Let's draw a line there. Back to this fight over now. P15, P16. Looks like Mitchell's been able to make his way forward past Salberg. The Sector 1 BMW starting to disappear off in the distance. Speaking of disappearing, my goodness, Louis Neal in that PMR powered by Richardson Co Racing Hyundai. Looking to disappear off into the distance by going around the outside here of Ryan Elliott. And my word, that is brave on the brakes. Does he get that stopped? Yes, he does. Wow, Louis, making moves and unfortunately not staying on the track on the exit there. He's encouraged, it's good, encouraging driving, but you do need to stay on the island.
Yeah, a little bit unlucky there. I'm just trying to see what kind of terms of boost. Yeah, Louis got a lot more boost than Elliott ahead of them. So I think it's like 9 laps versus 4. So should have much more time to make use of it. The gaps are starting, everyone's starting to spread out. So I know Ryan Elliott and Louis Neal here are close, but there's a few battles, but there's a few less now as people are kind of finding a bit of a rhythm. 2/3 through the race now, 3 retirements so far: Mitch Frey, Robin Moding and Bert Knotts. Still 23 runners and riders.
Scott Mitchell-Malm at the point, 1.4 or so seconds to the good on the soft tyres with the fastest lap of the race to boot. Louis Neal, just to cover this, is still trying to get past Ryan Elliott. Got the speed quite clearly in that Hyundai. I think he just needs to be patient, perhaps study where Ryan is placing his car. You've got more speed in your Hyundai. It's just about using it in the right spot. I think opening up the line here, as Mitchell-Malm did, would be what I'd be looking to do.
Yeah, I think just need to follow basically their follow them in the tracks through those last few corners, and then just kind of use that boost all the way down here, which is what they are doing. But I don't think it's going to be enough, as they're going to try and put them under a little bit of pressure through turn 1, try and duck down the inside, but not enough there.
So still all over the back though of this Vauxhall Astra, trying the outside line. Really tough, Druids. It's really tough to try and make a pass around the outside work, but if you can hang on there, you get the immediate advantage of Graham Hill Bend, the left-hander they are now entering, and it's a simple left-hander, you might say. How hard can it be? Very tricky to get the braking and the turning done, and if you get your power application wrong, you suffer down this little back straight.
Yep, we've got a little fight here between Thomas Farch, Zachary Evans, and I think that's Alan Smith. They're all trading places at the moment for 10th, 11th and 12th. Who's going to come out the best there? Callum Wilson in 13th. I think he'll get a little bit of a piece of that pie shortly. As yeah, it's now all about boosting and slipstreaming on this back straight and just nailing your exit to get a good run. As we see, lots of cars are starting to use the boost, as maybe they've realised they've got the number of laps remaining left to make use of it.
Indeed, a very different race playing out here, comparing race 1 to race 2. As we've got, Jack London off on the grass there, recovering. Of course, had the jump start at the start there, but not a race 2 to remember for him. Zachary Evans still trying to get past Alan Smith, but as you were saying, Phil, Callum Wilson now for very close company in his BMW. So right down to the final few points paying positions, action aplenty here in race 2.
Yep, just going to get a replay of Jack. I think he just loses it on the bump. He had way too much curve, bottomed out, off we go. We're going on an adventure, tries their best to recover, but at that point you might as well just let go of the steering wheel and see where you end up. And sadly, that'll be a bit of damage, I imagine, on that Ford, but they are still going around in 23rd. We've got Herm up here fighting with Allington for 9th and 8th, as there's some fights going on just behind them actually as well. So yeah, you kind of got a group for fighting those last points, and also remember, obviously top 12, you've got a chance of getting reverse grid, so it's really important to get there.
Absolutely right. Our starting order for the third race of the evening is a reverse grid, position 6 through 12. So the scrap here for the final possible reverse grid position is going to be a key one. That is currently now Wilson's. He's now got Zach Evans to try and pass, to try and get further up the order and a greater chance of a pole position start.
Yeah, this kind of, I think this is the only real battles going on at the moment, is that Louis Neal and Ryan Elliott kind of backed off for a little bit, but I think Louis is slowly catching up again with all that extra boost as we see someone going wide in the background there. Didn't see who that was.
So here it was Smith in our ears. So thank you, cameraman extraordinaire Tom, for that one. Just as Wilson makes his way through Graham Hill Bend on the 20th time.
We've lost Ryan Elliott. We've lost Ryan Elliott. I think he had a disconnect problem. I've just seen him drop down the order, which puts Louis Neal. Louis Neal's finally up to 4th place.
Well, there we go. He wasn't able to quite get a pass on the road. Not the way I'm sure he would want to get 4th place, but Louis up to 4th. Rotten luck for Ryan there. Of course, we don't tend to have mechanical failures in virtual racing, but we do get failures of a digital kind. So unfortunate for him. That's going to be a tricky one to manage in the third race.
Yeah, this ruins your evening getting a DNF. But like race 1 or race 2, you can't. It makes it very difficult to recover, as they just put that isn't that great. So obviously they've just realised, yeah, they've sadly had a technical problem. What it does mean is that now we've got Kings Racing 3rd and 3rd, and PMR powered by Richardson Co Racing in 4th and 5th, with Dan Herlock BMW kind of keeping it in the mix.
Yes, indeed. So strong team performances. It looks like we've got a few teams trying to put their authority down on the championship nice and early this year. We will have to see if they're able to carry that on for the remaining rounds as we proceed for the next 8 events. This battle over P9, 10, 11 and 12 continues to show no let-up. A little bit of a wiggle there on the brakes from Wilson, and Mitchell gaining a little bit of extra track position and time on that BMW. You can see that King's car almost on rails on the exit there through Graham Hill Brown, just carrying that little bit extra speed, and that is a force multiplier. I think Wilson not only trying to attack Allington ahead, but also defend. Not a easy position to be in.
Yeah, look at all the boosts. They've got 2 laps to go. They've all got boosts remaining, so they're all fine to use it. There's no one that's actually run out. So it's all looking like everyone will boost from here on in. It's just someone gets a bad exit or struggles. Like I said, if you try to overtake someone and then kind of get pushed out eventually, freight trained, I suppose, Brands Hatch Indy style. As Wilson had a little bit of a look down the inside there, which will obviously sacrifice a little bit of exit speed here with Luke Mitchell behind and looking to recover a bit more.
So down into Graham Hill Bend, 23 laps in the book. One more after this one to go. Mitchell having a bit of a look at the back of this BMW, but nothing opening up opportunity-wise there. I think it will be on the brakes, and oh my goodness me, look at the extra confidence he's got. Has he got himself up the inside? I think he has. Has he got overlap? He's certainly going to make that BMW run a little bit offline, but it looks like Wilson's been able to recover as they run towards the start-finish line. Over they go. A little brief yellow flag as we are watching Martha sliding that Corolla through turn 1. That's not the first time I've seen that happen. Very stylish. Into Druids, as we've got a little bit of picture in picture. We've not talked much about Scott Mitchell-Marm, our race leader. He got himself to the point nice and dominantly early on, and he has not looked back. Passing the pit entry down towards the start-finish line, Scott Mitchell-Marm on the boost wins race 2 this evening as we still continue this battle over P10, 11 and 12. Looks like a good exit from all 3 drivers, no mistakes. It's going to be a drag race to the line. Looks like Martha's going to cover the inside, and I think that will be that position secured. Great fighting up and down the grid.
It was great fighting. It's Mitchell-Marm, an interesting way of celebrating returning to the points there. Gets 12th place. Like I said, good recovery after that incident early on. Some solid points and a small chance of reverse pole. Like I said, it's a random number between 6 and 12. So if they rolled a 12, it means that Mitchell would be on pole. So good recovery. Double podium for the Kings guys. Really good work there. And 4th and 5th for PMR. It's not too bad either.
Yeah, indeed. So as we saw at Donington, the Kings team have come to race, and I'm sure, given the dramas of the first race, they'll be thrilled with that result. And as you say, the RSR cars still in the mix as well. 2 second places for Herlock. I mean, that's not a bad return on the evening so far, but Tom Stevens again making his presence known. So yes, a good second race in the books, a bit more traditional, but still plenty of action.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously now with that race 3 where they're going to switch it all over, and you're going to have the likes of Scott Mitchell-Marm, Dan Herlock starting around the 10th, anything between 6th and 10th, they're going to have to struggle with that boost. Probably should run down those results though. Scott Mitchell-Marm winning there for Kings Racing, with Daniel Herlock second. Tom Stevens in third, with Louis Neal and Jordan Richardson for PMR, powered by Richardson Co Racing, in fourth and fifth. Cedo Wyatt in sixth, and Joseph Herlock in seventh. Thomas Vack in eighth. Very good result there. Zachary Evans in ninth, the other PMR actually, so all 3 PMRs in top 10. Nice result. And Martha Allington rounding out the top 10. Great work there. Callum Wilson in 11th place, 6th and 1 esports. Luke Mitchell, like I said, good recovery in 12th. Alan Smith in 13th, with Jordan Hyde a couple of points in 14th. Fraser Hart getting the last point in 15th, with Emil Salberg in 16th. Ben Willis in 17th, with Daniel Scott for Drake in 18th. Dave Brewster in 19th, and Matthew Williams in 20th. And then we had a few DNFs at the end there. So Jack London, 21st, a couple of incidents. Anthony Walker in 22nd, and then the DNFs of Mitch Murray, Robin Moling, and Bert Knox.
Yeah, a couple of cars lost obviously early with that early contact into Druids on the first lap, but a whole field of cars coming across to complete race 2, which is excellent to see. And we have obviously our third race to come. We will share the reverse draw number as soon as we know it. At least just looking at the information I've got in front of me, we potentially could have, of our 26 or so car field, 12 drivers on the soft tyre. And we've seen in that dry race that soft tyre does appear to be the one to be on. So race winners who now perhaps don't have that advantage, some less boost, and a number of very quick drivers with a sticky soft tyre to work with. Lots to keep an eye out for in the third race.
Indeed it is. I'm just going to have a quick look at the old weather. It looks like there we are no more rain now, so it looks like it will be a dry race 3. Famous last words. Hopefully it'll be the commentator's curse. We shall see. But yeah, that soft tyre is always a fun. Like I said, I've always said I used to struggle on the softs, just making them last the race distance. The first 20% of the race was absolute bliss. You'd then find your form for, up to about 3/4 of the race, and then the softs would just effectively just turn off. Is the best way of describing it. And those last 2 laps were just absolute hell, and I hated them.
It is an art to manage the tyres, no doubt. It is a skill to say not use all of your powder early, let's call it. Soft tyre naturally will give a lot more performance early on, but as you say, it's in order to finish first you have to finish, and you don't finish first if you end up in a gravel trap. So yes, we will see how our drivers manage it. I must admit, when I was driving in TCUK, I was always driving a rear-wheel drive car, so at least I had that going for me. I didn't have to worry too much about keeping the fronts alive, but very, very difficult in the front-wheel drive cars, of course.
Yeah, I think for me, like I said, I switched from rear to front, and it was a balancing act. I think I could sum up my experience in rear-wheel drive. I got very good at clutch kicking to save me in the half spin in rear-wheel drive. I got very good at realising when I was spinning and just apply the clutch to kind of straighten it out. It was just a problem that as soon as you got tapped, you just got spun round. There's no recovery. With the front wheels, you just power and just kind of like get yourself out of it. Which I enjoy. I could go faster, easier in a front-wheel drive, but I just wore out the front tyres all the time. Surprise, surprise. So my driving style doesn't really help for it. So yeah, reverse grid. By the way, we have a reverse grid number, and it is P9. So Zachary Evans for PMR is on pole.
So that is hard luck for Martha Allington. We're just seeing in the driver chat that apparently was dealing with random moments, and I quote, of the car not wanting to shift up gears. That is a bit of a hindrance to deal with. Came home in P10, so still a fantastic result to have, but I'm sure that Zach Evans will be very happy to find himself on reverse grid pole.
Yeah, and obviously that means those Kings are now going to be starting, what's that, 9th and 7th with less boost than the guys ahead. So, yeah, that's going to be the fun one to watch, is what that means, and especially as all those Kings get pulled into that midfield battle, which we saw. The scrapping for points was, it was hard and fast, wasn't it? So that's going to be the exciting one to watch. And I think, the rain is easing up. Well, there's no rain, so softs for half the grid.
So it's going to be a race of attrition. The third race normally is a little more lively, a little more frantic. I think actually the point you just made is a good one, Phil. It's almost a bit of a strange phenomenon. At the front, you're able to just kind of focus forward, drive your lines, hit your marks, you're naturally quick. But if you do find yourself in the midfield, it is so much more of a battle just to maintain position, to hit your marks, because you have to keep an eye forward, you have to keep an eye in your mirror. It's a lot more difficult. So we'll have to see how the Kings team make their way through this third race. A little bit handicapped with the boost, but that's kind of the point of it. Yes, we'll have to see what they can bring to the party.
They did do the team orders pretty well there, though. They did make sure that, I can't remember which way around it was now, but made sure the bottom soft got ahead and obviously went on to take the race win.
Yes.
Which is what we worked out earlier is what they needed to do, whereas we saw other teams fighting each other, which is just going to slow you both down and bring other people in. So a bit harder to do, though, when you're in midfield, which I'm sure they're going to find out.
Yes, you don't perhaps get the luxury of time when you're, say, at the front and you've just got one other car to worry about. If you've got 5 others, it's a bit more pressured. So yes, here is our here is, I think, the finishing order for the last race. And of course, as we say, Zachary Evans finishing in P9, he will start in pole position. Thomas Wack for the first evening, finds himself on the front row. That's a grand opportunity for the kart marketplace of RSR team. Joseph Herlock will start in third place with Cedo Wire, our race 1 winner, in P4. Jordan Richardson and Louis Neal, pair of PMR powered by Richardson Co racing cars, will follow them, with Tom Stevens, Daniel Herlock and Scott Mitchell-Marm, of course, are podium finishers from the second race, rounding out that top 9. So not quite a full reverse of P12 switching over to P1, but pretty high up there, and that will really shake things up.
Well, yeah, Malfo's going to have great fun. I mean, every car in front only has a little bit more power each time, a little bit more boost, sorry. So you're going to have, like I said, those Kings cars aren't going to have much boost. So you could really kind of rock the boat with those to see if they able to hold on and work together, make a little Kings rolling roadblock, or are they going to struggle a little bit? Or are they going to go forward? Just boost isn't everything.
Absolutely. I think the pace we've seen from them, both literal pace, and all 3 drivers, it's not just one driver, like they've
Yes.
all had superb results. That shows that they are working well as a team. They've clearly got an eye on how to get the most out of this Honda Civic Type R. I would not be surprised if they're able to make a few places in this one.
We'll have to see what happens there, and if Herlock can see, I think we've seen Herlock in race 3 before, just kind of make places up somehow. So and obviously Joseph now is going to be kind of swapped over. So again, are they going to meet in the middle and bit of team orders early on for the championship? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think it might be a bit early to start calling those kind of calls, but I think you're absolutely right. I think it was Stevens and Mitchell-Marm, they swapped around in that second race, allowed that soft tyre to be used. Smart heads-up driving. We talk about racecraft, setting up moves. Mitchell-Marm set up a beautiful move to take the race lead. Well, there's racecraft off the track and into team as well, and I think Kings on both fronts really showing the rest of the field how it can be done.
Yes, it'll be fun to see if admins look at the current field spread in terms of balance of performance, and if anything changes at Snetterton. Obviously, Snetterton is a very long circuit with lots of straights, which is going to benefit different cars compared to the likes of Donington and Brand. So have to keep an eye on the old balance of performance. It is something that the admin team do look at in terms of fuel usage, boost usage, lap time, tyre usage. So they've got all the data they can sift through once the broadcast is over and make changes for round 3 and onwards as they see fit.
Yes, and actually, I think that's a good thing to mention in terms of the difference that Snetterton will bring to the party. Of course, we've got Brands Hatch here, wonderful circuit of its own character, 1.2 miles, constant corners, constant bends, constant attention. You've got then a very different challenge in the likes of Snetterton that we'll go to in 3 weeks' time. Lots of flat-out open sections, the longest lap that we will see in TCUK this year, and a really good, or at least I found, really good shakedown circuit to learn your vehicle, learn your car. Might be that Kings are on top of theirs at the moment, but I think in practice everyone might find a few opportunities in some of the slow-speed hairpins like Wilson or some of the fast kinks like Hamilton that Snetterton brings to the party. So good racing to look forward to in a few weeks' time, but it might be that our drivers unlock a bit more speed through the unique nature of the circuit.
Indeed, it's we've had much time talking to Snetterton. Obviously, we've both been there to watch real racing. Have you actually ever been to Brands Hatch?
I haven't.
No, neither
for
have I.
my sins.
Yes, that sounds like a road trip at some point.
I think so.
Yeah, I've never been to Brands Hatch before. I've got friends that have done the kind of slow track or cycle days around there, which sounds like a fun thing to do in itself. But that'd be fun going downhill. I imagine the uphill bit not as entertaining.
Yes, I would concur with that. Of course, the track, at least from a spectating point of view, it's in a bit of a bowl, so you can see a good amount of the circuit from a few vantage points. So, yes, it's again, we're blessed in the UK to have so many fantastic racing circuits. This is definitely amongst them. And over its history, you mentioned obviously some of its origins earlier on, Phil. Hosted the British Grand Prix. The fundamental Indy circuit hasn't changed that much since its inception. I believe they've changed direction. I think they used to do it the other way around originally. I may be wrong, but the fundamental layout hasn't changed, and you can see why from some of the racing we've had tonight. Frantic stuff.
It's been brilliant. As they start their formation lap, I will quickly run through the entire grid again one last time this evening. Zachary Evans starts on pole with Thomas Vack in second. Joseph Herlock in third. Cedo Wire in fourth. Jordan Richardson and Louis Neal for PMR 5th and 6th. Tom Stevens, the first of the Kings Racing, in 7th, with Daniel Herlock in 8th. With Scott Mitchell-Marm there in 9th. Martha Allington, unlucky there with the old reverse draw and gear shift issues, she starts in 10th. Callum Wilson in 11th, with Luke Mitchell in 12th. We've got Alan Smith in 13th, with Jordan Hyde in 14th. Fraser Hart in 15th, and Emil Salberg in 16th. Ben Willis in 17th, with Daniel Scott in 18th. Dave Bruce 19th, Matthew Williams 20th, better round us off because they're going to get ready to go racing soon. Jack London, see if they can recover from 21st. Anthony Walker for 22nd, in 22nd. Ryan Elliott 23rd, Mitch Sherry 24th, and Robin Moling in 25th. We made it.
There we go. 25 cars, 1.2 miles. We've made it 3 times around. So good job, sir. As you can see, everyone just forming up, finding their marks. You can see some of that natural camber that we talked about right at the start of the broadcast. Drivers on the right-hand side of the grid will struggle to get away from the line. Here we go. Lights out, and away we go. And look at the launch that Thomas Vack has got straight to the lead. And here comes that BMW up the inside as well. Our pole position, Zach Evans, already under pressure. Big moment, big slide, big contact between himself and one of the Kings.
Yeah, that was a front-wheel drive power out and hope for the best. I think what we're seeing there at the start was a rear-wheel drive and Thomas Vack with the soft tyres making a much better start there than Evans, who's sadly being swallowed up by the grid.
Yeah, our top 4 drivers, as they currently run, are all soft tyre runners. A little bit of a lag moment there for one of the Hyundais as they run through Surtees and McLaren for this the first time of asking. We'll have to see if they're able to hold on to those soft tyres, or perhaps if the medium runners can hang on a little bit as the race progresses with a better average lap. Let's see, Thomas Vack crosses the start-finish line to lead. Of course, naturally sets the fastest lap of the race into, oh my goodness, into Paddock Hill Bend. Joseph Herlock doing everything sideways there, but loses a bunch of positions. Cedo Wire and Tom Stevens take advantage.
Yeah, and obviously got the Hyundais of PMR kind of lining stern, well, not quite lining stern now, in 6th, 7th, and 9th with Scott Mitchell-Marm there in 8th. Yeah, it looks like Vatch there has got a really good start, got the soft tyres. made a little break for it and kind of probably hoping that everyone else, if you could just all fight each other, why run away? That would be fantastic. If we've got the Herlocks next to each other, will there be any team orders here?
So I think I saw the two Hyundais getting quite up close and personal. All three of them now running together as they leave Clark Curve. A little bit of diamond formation with a King's car rounding out the quartet. On the brakes they go into Paddock Hill Bend. Jordan Richardson are asking many questions of Zachary Evans, unfortunately continuing to slide back as the opening of this race continues, as we've got a yellow flag in Sector 1.
We have indeed, not quite sure who that is. At that point down the start-finish line, the Hyundais that they were trying to box in like a police stop of Scott Mitchell-Marm, but he has managed to keep going. He's been a couple of places up so far. There's a few cars running wide here. This is where it all gets a little bit tetchy because you kind of different speeds going into this quite kind of, like I said, long curve, and then it gets very tight here. It's Ben Willis just about holds on, but is going wide. Hopefully keeps pointing the right way, but there's now a barrier and just about stops. That is parked.
So the Grand Prix circuit tarmac, I think, coming to Ben's aid there, just got a little bit out of shape over the curb there, but thankfully able to gather that one in without running into the wall. Battle here for P2 and P3. Cedo Wyatt, Tom Stevens. Tom Stevens able to get himself up the inside of the Brabham Honda Civic. A little dance around in the mirror. Wyatt trying to make Stevens miss his mark, but not this time around. Stevens moving forward up to P2 as more antics in the background. I think that again was Joseph Herlock in the BMW getting all out of shape on the exit of Graham Hill Bend.
That was also Scott Mitchell-Marm there. Louis Neal went a little bit wide on the left-hander down the hill, and now Scott Mitchell-Marm up to 6th. As we're just seeing, Martha is also down to 12th. And there's kind of two large groups now. You've kind of got this first kind of group of 6, and then you've kind of got effectively what I'm going to describe as everyone else behind. As VAC's already used 4 of their 14 laps of boost, but also has a lot more than those cars behind them at the moment.
So top 5 or so cars all on the soft tyres as, oh no, car getting hooked up onto the wall there on the inside of Paddock Hill Bend. That was one of the Hyundais, didn't quite catch who. I'm hearing Jordan Hyde in my ear, but that is always a bit tricky. You get two cars very committed making contact on the exit. Huge compression as the drop becomes a climb, and you can end up very quickly pointing in an unfavourable direction, and I think that's what happened that time around.
Yeah, I think Jordan there was trying to kind of cover the inside. I was going to get a replay now. You'll see O'Meal gets a better line through here, gets the inside. I think just kind of 2 into 1 doesn't quite go. In that instance, the driver will have severe concussion, but somehow the car is still going.
Yes, built strong, these Hyundais, and it's good to see the flagman was right there on the mark, waving that little yellow flag. Returning to the front, Thomas Vac continues to lead, using that boost, trying to build that gap. He's got 1.8 seconds at the moment from a hard and fast charging Tom Stevens, but this is pretty spot on at the moment. Just focus on your race, keep consistent, use that boost advantage that you naturally have, and you know, there's a long way still to go. Stevens behind, only 6 laps of boost, but critically not used a single one yet.
Yeah, I think they're going to all be saving it to defend or near that kind of last quarter of the race. As yeah, we've also got the kind of, you've got Mitchell and Evans. Oh no, it's Joe wide. That's definitely, that was the racing line I was trying in the Mercedes actually, when it was in the blizzard. It worked out quicker to go through the snow, as that Hyundai has a little bit of a lag spike again. Seems to be struggling a little bit. Hopefully we'll tether them back to the circuit shortly. And Scott Mitchell-Marm is kind of, again, the gap now is kind of breaking away with these top 4, and then it's kind of everyone else again.
Yes, I think it'll be good to keep an eye actually on Mitchell-Marm's process or progress throughout this race. If the top 4 race hard and they use up the soft tyres, as you were warning, it might be that medium tyre comes back into its own towards the end of the race. Speaking of racing, hard and fair racing all the way through the field, down here to P14 and 15. I think we've got a whole queue of cars here fighting over the final few points.
We have indeed. I think Louis Neal was about to get disconnected. They're really struggling with their internet. Yep, they've been DNF'd. Lag. So that's Louis Neal up out of the race, and Scott Mitchell-Marm up to 5th as aggressive overtakes here from the Hondas of Emil Salberg. And who's that? I think that may be Cal Fraser Hart. Thank you.
Say muscular paint trading. Honda's built strong. Ideally a bit cleaner than that, folks, but it's touring cars. There's going to be a little bit of rubbing, and it is sometimes racing. So on the brakes, up into Clark Curve. There you go. We now see what's going on here between Luke Mitchell and the 2 PMR by Richards & Co Racing Hyundais. A little bit of a sandwich situation going on here for Mitchell. Zach Evans ahead, Richardson behind. Mitchell making places, up 4 of the 2 PMR cars, unfortunately losing places as this race has played out so far. Joe Herlock just a little way up the road. Joe is having plenty of adventures in this one so far. I think every time I've seen him, he's been sideways or a little bit off the road. But he's having fun, and that's the main thing, holding on to that 6th place.
I think if we were in iRacing, they'd have a drive-through at the moment for the number of track cuts they've taken, because they've kind of made their own. They made their own line through turn 1, which the stewards won't be too happy if they keep doing that. Thomas Vack in the lead, still using a little bit of boost. Already used 8 of the 14 laps. I'm wondering if they're just going to dump all the boost, and the hope that the big gap will be big enough that Tom Stevens won't be able to kind of buy it back effectively come the end of the race. It's an interesting tactic. I wonder if they're just going to save some at the end of the race, but maybe they won't. Maybe they'll just dump it all, and then they could just focus on picking the corners.
It's one thing to catch, it's quite another to pass. I think I'd definitely be considering holding a little bit back in reserve. Stevens, I think, just naturally lapping just a touch quicker without the boost at the moment. Joe Herlock again getting a bit sideways on the exit of Graham Hill, and it looks like Luke Mitchell might try and make a little bit of an opportunity as the PMR Hyundai of Evans perhaps just watching that Herlock car going a little bit sideways. But yes, Wack doing a great job so far, leading from the front, just focusing on his race, but I'd definitely try and hold on to a little bit of boost just as an extra aid as when Stevens eventually does catch up.
Just quickly, Dave Brewster is currently going into the pits as they had a bit of a hit after the left-handers, so a little bit sideways as they were on a little bit of the grass there, so unlucky for them. Yeah, meanwhile, it's kind of, this is the main. I'm just going to get a replay now of indeed. Brewster comes down into the left-hander. Now, I'm not sure they get a tap from behind. I don't think they did. I think they literally just dropped. Yeah, I don't think they got tapped. I think they just dropped it themselves. I've been sadly the victim of that one. A few years ago, I had a car. I got the inside on that left-hander, and the car next to me did literally that and used me to straighten themselves out, and I went sideways on that straight and had to retire. So, it's a horrible feeling being on the end of that when it's not even the driver's fault next to you, but it's still very annoying.
So I imagine a little bit of despair and frustration growing in the PMR Hyundais there. Another place lost, this time to Callum Wilson in the Sector 1 BMW. Perhaps they're playing the long game. We will see. Jack London recovering. He's currently now making his way forward. He was P15, now P14, making a move there into Druids on Martha Allington. Yeah,
it's still going to be a fight for that last point. We're just halfway through the race, and got a yellow flag in multiple sectors. That tells you a sign of how crazy this race is, as Tom Stevens has caught the back of Thomas Vack. The gap was 1.6 seconds. It's now down to 0.7. So that race, you could say the race is on for the Kings Racing.
Very good, very good. Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was perhaps a little bit of a mistake on a single lap, or is this just natural pace and consistency playing out? But the race is on, as you say, Phil. Half a second the gap now as they run through Surtees on the brakes into Clark Curve, climbing, turning right, slowing the car down. Car shifting its weight around. These front-wheel drive cars, those rear right wheels will lift up, so you all of a sudden have 3 wheels on your wagon, just to make it even more difficult. But Stevens managing it beautifully, catching the back of that Vauxhall Astra. Callum Wilson in his BMW, he's got some pace in this third race. He's now hassling the back of Luke Mitchell. This is over P7 and P8, dancing around in the rear view mirror of that Honda, but not able to cause or force a mistake from Mitchell this time around. Hard on the power, running down into Graham Hill Bend. Looks like that fight is far from over.
Yeah, this one is definitely just getting started though. Stevens now right on the back. I think they've used boost this race, maybe not. And it's the yellow flag in Sector 2. Vac is using their boost, but now they've only got 3 laps left compared to Stevens' 6. So that one's definitely not over. I think Stevens now has the upper hand here. If they can just kind of stay on the back of them. They have 6 laps of boost to use in the last quarter of the race. Are they going to be able to use it to overtake later on?
We'll see, and I also wouldn't count out Dan Hurlock. He's just waiting, watching in the wings, slowly making his way forward. If these two start to scrap, Hurlock will be right in the pound seat. So yes, I think we have well and truly a race for the lead, very literally on, as there's racing going on up and down the field. Ryan Elliott recovering from that DNF due to a technical problem. He's up into 15th place.
We got
Take
the
it away, Phil.
we got the fight here between Stevens and Vac. They're both on the boost. Vac's now on the outside. Stevens on the inside. Is there still an overlap? Yes, there is. Stevens got the inside line. This should be okay. Is Vac going to try and cut back underneath a bit over speed? Apparently not. Stevens takes the lead.
Stevens takes the lead for now. Hunter becomes hunted, potentially. I think Stevens got a lot of natural speed in him, though. It's going to be tricky to repass, but we'll see what Wack can do. Still a lot of laps. We're only 2/3 down in this, the final race of the evening. A change for the lead, all to play for.
Yeah, and also Hurlock has caught back of both of them. So I think Vac is going to go from first to possibly go even further backwards, because Hurlock's got a good exit here. As we're watching Ryan Elliott trying to fight for 14th and 15th. Smith on the outside. A little bit of contact. Are they both going to stay on the grey stuff? Yes, they are. Just about. Is Smith going to take the inside? Nope, that is a place gain for Ryan Elliott.
Yeah, you can see the car, Smith's car there, really struggling, scrambling for grip. A little bit of a lock-up as the weight transition, the curb drops off. Lots to manage, but thankfully no contact, no issues there. Elliott continues to make his way forward. Oh dear, running a bit wide into the gravel there. Smith, that won't help him on the run into Druids.
It won't indeed. Let's see how Scott Mitchell-Marm's doing, because he's our first guy on the mediums. He's 6 seconds off the lead, and yeah, just can't get back up. As we've got Fraser Hart and I think that's Mills Salberg, 19th and 20th. What happens here? So Fraser has gone for the racing line. Mills dive down the inside. Contact's going to half spin both of them, and then Salberg is just going to finish off the job.
Yeah, tricky one to call from that camera angle. Graham Hill very tempting to stick the car up the inside and hope for some space, but I think 2 into 1 did not go, and 2 cars making contact.
Indeed, I'm seeing Hurlock now is Cedar Wire actually now on catching up this little trio, making it a trio of 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and now it's Tom Stevens with a 1.2 second gap. So Tom's made the right time. This diving down the inside. It is diving down the inside. I think Thomas went wide there and has even allowed Cedo to have a little look. Cedo now on the boost. I think even Cedo is going to get 3rd place here, and 1st to 4th in just a few laps. That is a real shame for Thomas. Still got the fastest lap. Has a little look down the inside. As now Cedo's thinking, well, if I'm going for 3rd, I might as well go for 2nd while I'm at it. And not quite there, but those two definitely. That's not over.
He's going for 2nd, says Wire. Not quite working out this time around, but I say don't take anything away from Thomas. A great run here in the first outing in TCUK. Perhaps a little bit of tyre wear, tyre management. Who knows what might be the situation there, but still a great run and result on the cards for him. Cedar Wire, nice opportunist driving. He wants another race win to add to his TCUK tally.
Yeah, we're watching here. Luke Stevens in 7th. I mean, the 3 Kings cars are still in the top 7. So, yeah, we're doing pretty well here so far. This is all good news. All this fighting is good news for Tom Stevens. 1.8 second gap. And Cedo, they're all going to go wide. Oh, that's very wide. That's too wide. Surely that's hit. How is that car still going?
So, Hurlock, he did this in Donington. He had a moment. He kept it out the wall. He has got car control that I do not understand, but well done. He's not out of this one. And just like that, Whack back up to 2nd with Wire and Hurlock racing so hard that they nearly missed the corner.
Let's get a replay of this. They're just sort of both racing really hard. It's just a bit of Tokyo drift there from the both of them. How Hurlock didn't, I mean, yeah, he's quite far away, but that's not quite the racing line on this one. Didn't actually lose much. Obviously lost 2 positions, but only probably lost like a 2nd in time. So suboptimal, but somehow recoverable.
Suboptimal. While all this has been happening, Tom Stevens now a 3.5 second gap in the lead of this race, and now we've got a scrap here for P6 and P5. We've got Joseph Hurlock sliding all the way through this 3rd race, trying to go around the outside of Scott Mitchell-Marm on the medium tyre, but we've also got Luke Mitchell joining the party.
Yeah, I was wondering if there's a little bit of teamwork there to try and get that King's car ahead of Herlock, but didn't quite work out. As also seeing Cedo and second, third, and fourth picture in picture here, it's all kicking off on the final 3 laps, and can't take my eyes off either of these battles. So thank you, Mr.
Oh,
Cameraman extraordinaire. Wow, how?
I was going to say that the road isn't wet, honestly, ladies and gentlemen. It's just Joe's got some car control on him and wants to go sideways. So more excellent airtime for the sponsors on that RSR BMW. Not quite the fastest way to go around. He's lost a few places. The King's cars now do both pass that RSR. So does Callum Wilson in his Sector 1 BMW.
Yeah, it's just all kicking off now. I think also worth pointing out, VAC is currently in second, but has no more boost. This is the last lap they can use boost. They're not going to have any boost for the last 2 laps. So watch out, because Herlock and Wyatt do still have some boost to use as we are about to start lap 23 of 24. I don't think they're going to finish in the positions they're currently in. I think that's a safe bet to make.
I think we're going to have some good racing, that's for sure. The question is, who's going to use the boost on whom as they slide their way into Paddock Hill Bend. Herlock with a really nice run onto the back of WAC. No boost being used on the exit this time around. Herlock 4 out of 5 laps used, Wire 9 out of 10. So both with 1 lap of boost to go, and I can pretty safely guess that we're going to be seeing that boost on the final lap of the race.
I mean, you say that, and then Wyatt goes and uses his, so looks like they're going to go for the last kind of like a whole straight overtake and see what we saw last time. They went from 4th to 2nd very quickly, so this is all going to be about getting the exit right, and as soon as you can hit the speed that you can activate it, gassing it and just going for it. So are they going to have enough of a straight line speed? They're going to get a bit of an overlap. No, they're not. So I think for Wire that could be it, or they've got both got boost.
As we enter our final lap of the race, it's gone by in a flash. We've got 3 scrapping over P2. We have Thomas Vac currently holding that P2 position, but Dan Herlock and Cedo Wire scrapping, trying to get that P2 position. That BMW looking mighty menacing out of the exit of Graham Hill Bend. Again, we've not had much chance to talk about him. He's done such a serene job, but Tom Stevens got to the point, focused on his lines and marks, and has led brilliantly. A 5.7 second gap. Tom Stevens wins race 2, and it's a drag race to the line. Looks like Herlock able to get up the inside of WAC. WAC in P3, Cedo Wire coming home P4. What a scrap these 3 put on for us to round out our podium.
Wow, that was fantastic racing. It just kept going. It was hard to kind of like take your eyes off it. There was other racing going on, but it was fantastic racing up and down. As we just got Jordan Hyde. I think he's the last runner and rider at the moment. So we've got Anthony Walker actually in 22nd as well. So yeah, fantastic racing again. These guys have done brilliant. And I mean, Cedo starts 4th, finished 4th. Herlock and Stevens both made 6 places, and so did Mitchell actually. So a few guys making quite a bit of places. At Evans there finishing 11th. Just lucky, just couldn't get kind of the start they wanted, and just, as I said, kind of got dragged back into that midfield battle.
Yes, it's tricky, unfortunately, to manage the medium tyre when everyone else has got softs around you. But everyone, of course, now running or has made it back round. So 3 amazing races from Brands Hatch Indy. As always, this circuit throws up some fantastic racing. 1 very wet, 2 not so much, but some good racing in the dry. A strategy playing out across the evening. So with that, let's run through our finishing order for the 3rd race. Tom Stephen wins for King's Racing. He is followed home by Daniel Herlock and Thomas Wack for Kart Marketplace with RSR in 3rd. Cedo Wire won his first race this evening. He came home in 4th place in this one, followed by Scott Mitchell-Marm for Kings. Luke Mitchell, the 3rd Kings car, finished in 6th place, followed by Callum Wilson for Sector 1 Esports. Joseph Herlock stylishly finishes in 8th place, followed by Jordan Richardson. And Emil Salberg, we didn't see much of him in that 3rd race, but he came home with a top 10 finish.
Yeah, quite a few Hondas up there, as we've got Zachary Evans, PMR powered by Richardson Co-Racing in 11th. Jack London 12th, some nice points at the end there. Ryan Elliott in 13th as well, good recovery. Martha Allington 14th. Alan Smith, not quite 16th, one better, gets a point for it in 15th. Matthew Williams in 16th. Robert Molin in 17th. Mitch Murray there in 18th. Fraser Hart 19th. And it's Ben Willis in 20th. And I think we had 2 more finishers there in Jordan Hyde and Anthony Walker, the 21st and 22nd. And we sadly lost Daniel Scott, Dave Brewster, and Louis Neal.
So another 3 races, another round in the history books for TCUK here at Virtual Motorsport Online. I think one thing to point at, unless I'm very much mistaken, championships are built on consistency. And just looking at my notes here as the evening's gone on, Mr. Daniel Hurlock, I believe, finished in 2nd place for all 3 races tonight. So yet more very valuable championship points being banked early in the early going. So one to watch alongside the King's drivers. If you want to watch and follow along for the rest of the championship, well, we'd love you to do so. Our next round will be in 3 weeks' time at Snetterton. That will then be followed a few weeks later. We'll go to Alton Park and its island configuration. And just before our summer break, we will visit the Temple of Speed, which is Thruxton, on the 29th of July. After our summer break, we go north of the border to Knockhill for 3 races on the 19th of August. We return to Donington Park and its GP layout at the start of September. We visit Yorkshire and the Technical Croft circuit in mid-September, followed by Silverstone, rounding out 3 races in September using its national layout. We then, of course, return in October to the Brands Hatch facility here for the GP layout, where we've seen many a TCUK championship decided. 3 more races in the books, Phil. I think all memorable for different reasons, and I think we have one heck of a championship starting to build. We
do. We just need a bit more rain. I really enjoyed that race 1, the kind of like the will it rain, won't it rain, and a shame we didn't know more for races 2 and 3. But as we said, British summer, you never know. We've got a 3-week gap now. We've been to a very soggy, wet Snetterton in real life, and it's not fun as a crowd, but it looked pretty fun as a driver. So looking forward to that one.
Same here. So if you're interested in finding out more about TCUK, perhaps finding yourself on the grid in this or perhaps a future season, please do feel free to head on over to the VMO website. That is vmo-simracing.co.uk. You'll be able to find out more about the league, sign up, join our wonderful growing community on Discord. We didn't actually get a chance to mention some of the other leagues. We've got rallying, we might have some other things in winter as well, so plenty to come along and get involved with. Phil, any final thoughts from you this evening before we wrap up?
I think we've shown that King, in terms of constructors, I think Kings are in it to win it. And as for the drivers, I think it's if those Kings are gonna kind of shuffle around, it gives Hurlock a great chance to kind of pull away those 2nd places. He'll take quite a few of them quite happily.
I think so. And I think on an evening where we've had a first wet race in a long time, a first-time winner for the first time in a little while, I think we've got a really fascinating season starting to build upon us. So I'm just looking forward to, like I say, our next round in 3 weeks' time at Snetterton. So thank you all so much for tuning in and watching. We hope you've enjoyed the broadcast and love your interaction. Good to see a bunch of you in our various chats. So thank you so much for joining us this evening. Hopefully we'll see you in 3 weeks' time at Snetterton. But for now, thank you very much and see you in 3 weeks.